Welcome up, everybody, to the Ecom Map podcast. And today we're going to be doing a deep dive into a brand, Tristan. And I'm very excited to share some of these very cool stats on a brand and actually, I want you to guess it this time. So I'm going to give you a few stats, a few things about it, and I want you to try to figure out what you think it is. And I think you'll easily know because you've seen this brand a lot. So they started in 2012. They mostly, but not exclusively, work with Shopify brands. They have about 130 customers, 130,000 customers, sorry. They have raised a lot of money. They had just become profitable this quarter, so they were never profitable before. And they work a lot with e-commerce brands. That's their exclusive category. And I don't really want to give you too much more than that because I don't want to make it too blatantly obvious. Who do you think I might be talking about here?
Would this brand happen to have just gone public?
Maybe. They may have just gone public. Maybe.
Would this brand be responsible for 9 out of the last 10 spam emails I received?
There's a very good chance that 9 out of 10 brands are not using it correctly, yes.
I reckon it's Klaviyo.
Yeah, buddy, that's exactly right. It is Klaviyo, and today's episode, Tristan, is going to be talking about Klaviyo. Some of the cool things since they just they just went public for $9.2 billion with the co-founder, a very young, early 30s-year-old man, walking away with a few billion in value, which is pretty crazy for an e-commerce brand. So a big win for the e-commerce industry, that's for sure. So today I just wanted to bring them up and get your thoughts on that. How much do you know about Klaviyo and sort of the founding story behind it?
I do know something ridiculous, and I think it was you that was telling me that the founder used to be like a physicist, a physicist or something. Is that right? Is that Klaviyo? He used to be a physicist? Jesus.
Well, I don't know if he was a physiologist, but he was definitely a physicist. Working around Harvard, he had quite a lot of education, and he was a programmer. That was his background. And he was doing side hustle work and sort of trying to figure out his own line. And then him and who we met, which was his co-founder, actually worked at a company. I forget the name of it, but it was a big tech firm. And their whole thing was around first-party data. So they worked like with customer data, with loyalty programs, and started learning about this thing of first party. So that's kind of how they got into the realm of this software, where they decided to go down a route of let's scratch our own itch in the e-commerce world and go ahead and implement our learnings there, which is, of course, being able to gather and congregate first-party data so you can use it in your marketing efforts. And that's kind of how it spawned out.
And just so everyone's aware, so you're saying first-party data is obviously the information that you own on your actual Shopify website, like your pop-up and your customers that are purchased, right? Is that what you mean by first-party data?
Correct. First-party data, like by definition, means that the customer, the person, voluntarily gave you the consent to reach out and have their information. So that's how you define that. Versus third-party data is something like cookies or tracking pixels. Like a perfect example is a Facebook pixel, where you're not voluntarily giving this information. You're agreeing to a T's and C's, which most people did without consent, original days of Facebook, to get tracked, but you're not directly giving a brand that permission. So that's the difference there.
Right. And so Klaviyo obviously just going public, obviously, as you said, like $9 billion. Their whole thesis to business has all been around understanding first-party data, leveraging it in as most articulate, custom ways possible for the brand. Obviously, by doing that, they've had a lot of copycats follow them. Like obviously, like Omnisend is obviously right on their heels, or metaphorically, I don't know how close they are really in size, but Omnisend comes to mind. Do you reckon there's much more room for innovation in the space, like what Klaviyo is going down? Can they do much more, do you think?
I think there's a saying, which is for any business industry, that you always want to be riding waves. In any area, you want to be riding waves because that's where massive wealth. You know, we have the crypto wave, we have the e-commerce wave, like these pulls. And right now, especially with what's happened with iOS and privacy updates, there's been a big wave on first-party data. The ability to hold and congregate your own customer data so that you own the market. You're not affected by pixel changes. So I think Klaviyo is in a really right position at the moment, especially since out of all these years, this quarter was the first year where they were actually profitable, which is pretty insane, right? They do, I think they're valued 10x. They were doing 700 or 800 million in revenue, with 100,000 merchants. And you can imagine that as Shopify grows, they're just naturally going to grow too. So they're going to get more resources and ability to innovate. When it comes to what they're going to innovate in particular, I mean, I definitely have a few notes and things that I think the platform can expand on. I'd say one would be SMS. The SMS features on Klaviyo are super basic, from the flows to the ability to kind of tailor the messaging. And I feel like that has a big opportunity for improvement that a lot of brands aren't capitalizing on SMS either. I know that we could talk about our portfolio and see that many of our brands aren't really leveraging that. What about your thoughts? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Or do you have any things that you think Klaviyo could be bringing out sort of the next 12 to 18 months here?
Well, I mean, that point you made a couple of seconds ago about Shopify, as Shopify grows, Klaviyo by proxy grows. I mean, that even goes even a bit deeper as well, because Klaviyo they sold a percentage of their business to Shopify, right? Like Shopify owns a percentage of Klaviyo, which by proxy is like the greatest initiative on Shopify's behalf, that as Shopify grows, they get to double dip. Like Shopify has an opportunity now to push as many customers as they can to Klaviyo without probably showing too much favoritism, because they're just going to piss everyone else off. But they're inadvertently getting a benefit from Klaviyo's growth. So they're almost, as I said, double dipping. So I reckon Shopify has so much insight on what their customers or the overarching e-commerce landscape is actually going to look like, and probably feeding a lot of it to Klaviyo because they're a little bit further along ahead. Like, probably what Shopify is 10, maybe 15 times bigger than Klaviyo, probably minimum. So like they're probably seeing a lot of things coming down the pipeline that Klaviyo is probably taking full advantage of that we probably aren't even considering. To answer your question around what I think Klaviyo should be doing more of, I mean, SMS comes to mind immediately. What I like that Klaviyo has done is take that customer segment and just like specifically broken it down into almost every possibility. Like, this customer's bought 3 times, this customer's bought 3 times within this date period, this customer's bought 3 times within this date period and bought this one product. This customer bought within this period, within the 3 months, bought this product, and they happen to be subscribed to this list. Like, the ability to be able to do that at that level of detail gives retention specialists, even the guys that work with us, the ability to understand what that customer is doing in every level of their interaction with the brand. And Klaviyo is perfectly positioned to do it. It's like, if you leverage their segment ability, you are sitting there talking to a specific customer in a way that's actually going to allow you to communicate an actual important point to them, as opposed to just blanket buy my shit. So I think Klaviyo is going to look more into that segmenting piece. They're going to find some more AI things. I know they released the AI subject line feature a couple of months ago, or at least during the AI craze. I mean, I immediately brushed it off as not being very good, but I do remember using it a handful of times and going, oh, that's actually a pretty good subject line. I probably will use that. And I do remember actually using it probably 4 or 5 times. Like, it wasn't horrible, definitely wasn't incredible, but it wasn't bad. Maybe AI around the segmenting piece, like that's probably where I see the brand going in terms of technology.
I think that's such a good point. So with the AI, here's a question to pose to you. How many customers in our portfolio, like how many brands do you think actually look at the data, whether it be open rates or general metrics of their Klaviyo stats? How many do you think actually go into the data in depth enough to make decisions on it?
I reckon 1 in 5.
1 in 5. Okay, so that's probably higher than I would have guessed. I probably would have said 1 in 10 or more. But yeah, 1 in 5 still, right? And so where I think there could be opportunity with the AI route is Klaviyo giving out some suggestive reports on what things they should be doing based on the metrics they're getting. Triple Whale, as you know, another attribution software, did that, and they launched an AI tool that you could ask questions based on the data you had on the platform. So I could go, hey, what was my NCPA for the day, my new customer acquisition cost? And it would spit out my number. And I can go, hey, based on this, what should I be spending or what should I do? And Triple Whale's AI bot, which is just a free functionality, came out and actually now is a way more user-friendly piece of software, because there's just so many numbers and it can be convoluting. So I think Klaviyo has definitely got opportunity on the AI sphere to analyze data more rapidly. I will add as well, I have to add an idea too, which is, have you used the LTV ability of Klaviyo before? Like, have you used Klaviyo to sort of look at customer pathways?
I haven't. I've always used Shopify's cohort report. I didn't even realize you could do that on Klaviyo. How do you do it?
Well, that's exactly right. The LTV ability of Klaviyo has all the data of every customer. They can see when they first came through, like what ad they clicked, all the way through to their fifth, sixth purchase. Like they have that ability because they have pixels on the website, just like Facebook, and they can track click ID. So the problem is like no one knows that you're actually able to measure it because, to be honest, not to disrespect Klaviyo, it is like really, really crap, like that reporting tool, and that's why you haven't used it. I was kind of leading you toward that. So like where I think the big opportunity is Klaviyo learning from Shopify, which hopefully they do now. They raised $500 odd million with their public launch. Is actually building reporting so that we can look at cohorts and actually better analyze customers' LTV. Sort of like what Triple Whale does again. But Klaviyo could easily disrupt the market with something like that because I'm not seeing any other platforms to do that. I don't know if you've seen anything or what your thoughts are on that.
There's smaller apps that are doing it. I know Lifetimely does a version of it, but they integrate with Shopify the same way Klaviyo does, just as an app. But I mean, they don't have the database or they don't have the customer base that Klaviyo does. Like your point's exactly right. Like Klaviyo has every piece of information about a customer that you could possibly think of. Like they've got that data point somewhere in their database. They just need to now come up with a way from a UX point of view to give that information to less technically reliant people so then they can actually make some decisions. Because I mean, we've got some pretty smart people that work here and they don't even scratch the surface on understanding LTV, understanding what product drives the highest LTV, what product drives the lowest CPA. Like it just doesn't give them that information readily available unless you export the spreadsheet, change the data, like manipulate what you're looking at. Like it just doesn't do that. So your point around Triple Whale and Klaviyo doing the same thing, I think it's bang on. I think the time it's going to take to do that's probably not around the corner anytime soon, as much as we probably want it. I think it's probably going to be probably on the horizon of well over a year. But as soon as that launches, all these smaller apps that talk about LTV and even profit, they're going to be falling wayside just because Klaviyo's just got that monopoly of data.
Yeah, I'm thinking even sooner. I'm thinking in the next 6 months we're going to see something like that. Not to keep blowing air up Triple Whale's ass, but the other thing that they do, I think Klaviyo totally could replicate is benchmarks. 130,000 merchants. Imagine how much data they have on the best send times, the best emails to send, the messaging that they send, because they can analyze now qualitative data. What are the best images I should be running, and per industry too? Because when you sign up for Klaviyo, you have to put out what industry you're in and how much revenue you do. So surely they have enough data to provide benchmarks to us on what are the numbers we should be hitting and what we should be sending out versus us sort of guessing. And the number one research method for building out flows is look at competitors and just funnel hack them. Like, could you imagine if Klaviyo let out some of those benchmarks and data, like how powerful that would be?
It'd be almost like a huge library of just like, oh, you're in the fitness space. Here's 20,000 emails that have gone out in the last 20 weeks. Just use any of these as inspiration. And like almost like if you're opting in for this as an operator, you're like, yeah, I don't mind if my emails get put into a database where other people can learn from it. Like all you're going to do is just get more eyeballs. No one's really going to copy you one for one because that's not going to help their brand. It's just going to give them inspiration. Like I can see well-rounded operators wanting to do that. Like that seems like an easy win.
Or like, I don't know, have you heard of the software Replo before?
I
Replo.io?
have, yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
they're a landing page builder and they're a Shopify app, and they launched a Slack community where it's called the Reploverse. And basically, they will have community members there posting templates of landing pages they build. So they'll get a big brand like Ridge Wallet or Obvi, find that page that was custom coded, build it on Replo, and share it to the community. And so they just constantly are adding new templates on there. And that is like the most amazing customer service play by all means, and is like great for users as well. And I don't see Klaviyo offering any community templates. Like if you go on the template library, they're all the most basic ones, right? Like you see like the abandoned cart is like, oops, you left on my cart, like the super basic sort of blocky looking things. Imagine if they had a community aspect as well, where collaborators and designers could put templates on there, or even just sell templates on there. I bet you there'll be a lot of
Yeah.
brands that would be willing to pay for templates. So I'm hoping to see something like that
100%.
too.
I mean, taking that one step further, when you said flows, it sort of reminded me there would be a massive opportunity if you were looking at your flows and Klaviyo based on their data, their 130,000 other operators going, hey, your flow based on all of this data points that we have, here is where you're failing. You should change this conditional format to this. You should change this split to that. You should do this because of this reason. And we expect an uptick of blank, right? The amount of information that they have at their disposal to be able to do that just further warrants brands increasing their bill with Klaviyo. Like, it's the same reason like Facebook has all those reps ringing you and saying, oh, the number one thing I suggest you do is spend more. Like, no brainer, that's an easy one for them. Like, Klaviyo can do the exact same thing. Like, hey, you're getting more revenue from emails, you should increase your bill because your brand's growing. Therefore, our top line obviously clams with it. Like, I think that's an easy fix as well, or easy add-on.
Oh yeah, that's such an amazing point. Well, let's give them some props. What is like one thing? What is one of your favorite features about Klaviyo for e-commerce brands?
How simple it is to see top level numbers, right? So they've drawn a line in the sand and be like, if you want to know anything beyond open rate, click through rate, deliverability, and basically only top level numbers, then good luck, go find it, go be a data scientist. But all those top level numbers, they very, very clearly articulated that in a report, very simply for anyone, especially me at my level, operating, not sending emails anymore, but actually understanding what's working and what's not. It's super easy to see. It's like they've got the ability to create those reports, and it's super easy to use, especially from a top level point of view. What about yourself? What do you reckon they've done really well from your position, being obviously more of an operator, more of a technical person?
Okay, well, technical side, my favorite feature is the ability to transfer templates across different brands. That's been the cool part for me, because then we have the ability to create sort of master templates and share them across multiple brands in different industries. There's definitely a lot of softwares that don't have that ability. As a business point of view, I'd say that they have the number one customer support on Shopify by all means, because I don't know if you've ever done a Klaviyo support ticket request before. So their ability, like they're responding within like 10 hours or 8 hours, which is pretty good since we're in Aussie time and they're in America. And, they have customer reps in Australia as well that you can contact, and they're almost always resolving things for you, or like, especially code related things too. They are always just on top of it. So from a business standpoint, they are just such an exceptional point of customer service. I think service businesses and brands can really learn from.
Have you leveraged Klaviyo's not support? Have you leveraged Klaviyo's database of like lessons or like teachings? Like, have you ever looked into? I think it's a school account. I think they call it, or universities. Like, have you ever jumped into that and watched any of the videos?
Yeah, no, I have. I definitely have.
What did you get from it? Was it top level, high level? Was it sort of nitty gritty?
I think when I was first learning Klaviyo, it was really valuable, particularly for learning the features that you may not know as a new brand. Like, for instance, suppressing profiles was one example of that. Knowing that your Klaviyo bill goes up as you get more subscribers, which I'd just assume that a lot of brands wouldn't know that because it's not explicit in the pricing. That's what happens. And so it adds up. So in the course, I teach you about what an active profile is, someone that actually opens your emails in the last 30 or 60 days of sending emails versus not, and inactive profiles and how to suppress them, meaning that they don't get included in your bill. So that was a really cool feature that I only would have learned from reading their help articles and going through their course as well. Have you kind of checked out anything with regards to it?
I think I've probably watched maybe 4 of them. I've probably 2 or 3 years ago I watched them. I just haven't watched any of them since. Like I said, it's not really my forte anymore. It's more on the technical side. I was just curious whether or not they've got the support to be able to teach their customers. Because I mean, Facebook's a perfect example. They've got the learning modules and stuff like that, but I'm assuming it's not very technical in the sense that top level operators are sort of getting too much out of it once they know the basics.
Here's another little nugget that actually what the help articles taught me as well. When we were working with another brand, one of the things that I think not many people know about is that you can actually send what's called transactional flows across Klaviyo too. So what there are, there's 2 types. There's after you place an order and you get an order confirmation with the receipt and the order itself. That's the first type. And the second type is shipping is being delivered. And for most brands, they'll have it connected to Shopify, and that's the native one. But if you notice on that, there's no messaging, there's no links that go anywhere. Yet that will likely have, like, who hasn't opened their transactional email before? Almost everyone opens that, and that's why you see like 90% open rates on that. So what Klaviyo gives you ability to do is if you contact customer support and say, hey, I want these flows to be transactional emails, they'll mark it as transactional for you, and then you're able to send out those emails. And what you can do is you can't put promotions on them. So you can't, for instance, be like, hey, like also you should add these products to your cart or link to a sale. But you can add something like your Facebook group, like if you have a group on there, or link them to your Instagram, something like that, invite them to a community event or whatever. And that's like a crazy good strategy that, you see very few brands doing. So yeah, that's like a crazy thing that I learned again purely from the help articles too.
From if you pull out 30,000 feet and look at Shopify's integration to Klaviyo and even Shopify's ownership of Klaviyo, how many other brands do you reckon Shopify is going to start buying into and have their finger in that pie as they sort of grow? Is there anyone else that comes to mind that they either already own that you know of or that they should buy?
Well, I feel like you're going to relate to these. So there's like Shopify is obviously a monopoly, and Klaviyo is a monopoly in the sense that they made that partnership. So who they go with next has to be super strategic because Shopify's brand is like they're so careful with how they represent it. So I can only go with where I would recommend or where I'd hope they'd go. So I think you'll agree with me that one of the areas that needs to be uh, what's it called regulated a bit more is reviews. Review apps, like if you're a Shopify brand in 2023, you need reviews. Like we know brands without reviews convert at a significantly lower rate because we've got the Amazons, we've got competitors like coming out of every direction. So if you need some social proof, and if you go on any review app at the moment, like you're not spending any less than like $100 US for like a decent review app. Like you got your Yacht Pros, which goes up to like crazy amounts of money. And then you got your Stamp.io. So I would really hope Shopify would build or purchase a native review app because I wouldn't say I'm loyal to any particular review app. I usually go for the cheapest one because there's no benefit of having one app over the other, right? Like there's no real user difference. They all kind of do the same thing. They just price at ridiculous rates. And the other one I was thinking about was loyalty programs because they, for some reason, are just crazy expensive as well. Not to take a dig at Klaviyo, but I'm pretty sure their one Loyalty Lion is like 300 US for the starting package. And I'm thinking that's all good, but like loyalty programs are so valuable for brands. I feel like if Shopify could purchase that or get involved with that, maybe they can sort of lower the barrier to entry for that as well. But I don't know, man. Like Shopify makes so much money from their app, like that in-app purchases. Like I think they have a 20 or 30% markup. You might know that better than me. That they're almost not incentivized to do that for the higher price items. But as a merchant or as an agency, I would really hope that they would uh, help with those verticals. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I can see a perfect congruency, a perfect connection between a loyalty program, email platform, SMS platform, review platform, all built into one ecosystem. Now, not to mention, obviously, the downside of every other app that's not included in that triage of just awesomeness. Like they're just going to get the short end of the stick. But like I can see that as a consumer or even as an operator, being able to leverage all five of them, like that's a massive upside. They just have to hand pick or basically make the decision what integrates and at what level, because I know some of those review apps, like the biggest flaw with those review apps is that you can't send Klaviyo native emails. Like it's all just like shitty email, leave review, click on blue star, up to 5. Whereas you could make it so much more on brand if you could connect it to Klaviyo and send a custom email with an actual widget right there in the actual message.
Let me pose you a question then, similar to that but different. What is one app you wish existed on Shopify that doesn't, that you wish was native on Shopify?
I reckon that if we could get a native LTV app, it would be so much simpler. I would love to know the specific dynamic cohort between the dates of October 7th to October 14th, what the 30-day, 60-day, 54-day LTV is of that cohort. If there was a way to be able to track that specifically, because right now you have to manually do it. You have to go all of August, add 30 days worth of revenue of those people, and then compare that to September's same calculation, and you have to do that all manually. If there was a native measuring stick that allowed you to be able to do that specifically, that would be just absolute gold for any retention specialist, anyone trying to manage money.
Could you take a guess what mine would be? I feel like you would know this.
I
What's
would
one
say
app that we've
tracking,
been struggling with?
profit. That's a good point.
What's one app that we've been struggling with in particular, like between our brands?
Shipping. I'm not sure. Which one are you mentioning?
think about like for offers, offer creation.
Like A/B testing different offers. Oh, pricing. Do you mean pricing?
I'll give you a hint. It's one of the brands that we work with explicitly, and when we try to create offers to increase the AOV, for instance, we always have problems with it, the functionality.
Oh,
So,
the free gift.
free gifting. Shopify is like so late when it comes to like discounting and gifting apps. The fact that Shopify's native feature doesn't have automatic add to carts as an option is crazy to me. So that needs to be a feature pronto. Um, Hopefully someone listens. But that is a feature that like is just being given to the market of terrible app developers making a quick buck. So would love that to be done because I feel like, as you know, that feature of adding a free gift by spending up to a certain threshold is like such a crazy effective way of lifting AOV. So that needs to be a feature, Shopify, please. That means more spending in your platform, which means more transactional revenue for you. So please do it.
Exactly. Shopify, listen to some advice. Very good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's a perfect finale in terms of giving Shopify and Klaviyo some advice because obviously we are perfectly positioned to give so and totally in a position to understand what the market needs. Not. But is there anything else you want to add in terms of Klaviyo and where it's all going and things like that?
No, that's pretty much it, dude. I think we wrap it up there. But I enjoyed that. That was a good little breakdown. Keen to do it next week for the next brand. Hopefully we'll do it. Maybe we'll do an e-commerce brand this time and we'll do the same exercise. We have to guess who it is.
Perfect. All right. I'll leave that on your side of the court.
Sounds good, buddy. See ya.